You know that feeling? Like when even something that should be simple, maybe figuring out which streaming service has the show you want, it just feels huge.
Oh, definitely. Or just the sheer number of features on your phone.
Exactly. Stuff you know is there, but you'll probably, like, never even find.
Right. And that feeling of being overwhelmed by complexity, it's not just you. It doesn't matter how tech-savvy someone is.
Yeah, whether you're a digital native or, still wrestling with the smart TV remote.
It's pretty much a universal experience in our, well, incredibly complex world.
Mm.
And that's exactly why we're digging into John Maeda's book, The Laws of Simplicity.
Mm-hmm.
Your interest, really, in finding a way through all this complexity led us right here.
Right. John Maeda, he's from MIT, and his background is fascinating. He actually started out creating some of the digital noise we're talking about.
Oh, really?
Yeah, those really flashy, dynamic graphics, early web stuff. And it was almost like this moment for him, realizing he'd contributed to the clutter that kind of sparked this mission to understand simplicity,
Oh.
both digital and, well, beyond.
And what's really compelling about his book, I think, is that it does look beyond just the digital side.
Yeah.
It lays out 10 laws, sure, but it also explores simplicity in design, business, just life, really.
So not like rigid rules then.
No, not at all. More like useful ways to think, like lenses to look through.
Okay. So for this deep dive, our goal is basically to pull out the key ideas from Maeda, the insights that you, listening, can grab and hopefully immediately use to get a bit more clarity.
And maybe feel a little less overwhelmed.
Exactly. Less overwhelmed.
Okay.
Okay, so let's dive in. Law number 1, reduce.
Yeah, reduce. And at its core, it's pretty simple itself, really. The easiest way to get simplicity.
Mm-hmm.
Thoughtfully take things away.
Okay, like the classic DVD player example you mentioned earlier.
Exactly. Do you really need 50 buttons when you just want to hit play? That's the tension Maeda gets at that balance between, having the functions you need, but keeping it simple, elegant.
Okay, and he gives us this framework, right? The SE methods.
Yes, SHE, for shrink, hide, and embody. It's a practical way to think about reduction.
So shrink first. This isn't just about making things physically smaller.
No, there's a big psychological piece. Maeda connects smallness to our expectations.
How so?
Well, think about it. When something tiny does something amazing, it surprises us,
Yeah.
right? Delights us even.
Like our phones, basically, tiny computers.
Exactly. There's a wonder there. And the flip side is if a small gadget messes up a bit,
You kind of forgive it more easily.
yeah, we tend to be more forgiving that with some huge, complicated machine that fails, the expectation is just lower.
That makes total sense. He has that great comparison, doesn't he? A spoon versus a bulldozer.
Right. The sheer scale of the bulldozer creates this huge expectation, almost intimidation.
Whereas a spoon is just a spoon.
But then he flips it, pointing out how microchips, ICs, they've completely reversed that. Now tiny things can hold unbelievable complexity.
It's something you couldn't imagine like 50 years ago.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he even touches on other aspects, like the cuteness of babies.
Cuteness. How does that fit?
He suggests it's linked to fragility, vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
It makes us want to care for them, which is kind of the opposite of how we react to big, imposing complexity.
Interesting angle.
And then there's the design aspect, using thinness, lightness. Think of the first iPod.
Oh, yeah, super sleek. Or those thin ThinkPads.
Right. It creates an impression of smallness, even if the insides are still complex. It's like a visual trick to make technology feel less daunting.
It's sort of a gentle deception.
You could say that, yeah. A deception that helps us handle the complexity.
Okay, so that's shrink. Next up in Yi is hide.
Hide. This is all about concealing complexity until you actually need it.
The Swiss Army knife again?
That's the classic example, yeah.
Yeah.
You see the main blade, maybe, but all the other tools are tucked away. And you see this playing out in product design all the time. Remember those old remotes with the little doors hiding buttons?
Vaguely. Didn't really catch on, did they?
Not really, but the idea persisted. Think about clamshell phones.
Oh, yeah. Closing it hid the keypad, made it look neat.
Exactly. It gave you control over when you saw the complexity. And software interfaces do this constantly.
Menu bars, tool palettes that pop out.
Right. Hiding tons of functionality until you click.
Yeah.
Maeda even mentions things like the satisfying click of an old Razr phone.
Yeah, or those little animations on Macs.
Precisely. Those sensory cues tell you you're interacting with that hidden complexity. Makes it feel intentional.
Okay. So shrink makes things feel approachable. Hide lets us deal with complexity on our own terms. What's the E?
E is for embody. And this one's crucial.
Why is that?
Well, If you're taking features away, reducing, and hiding others, you have to make sure what's left feels valuable, really valuable.
Ah, okay. People won't choose simple if it feels cheap or flimsy.
Exactly. It's about the perceived value proposition. And Maeda stresses that embodying quality is often about business strategy just as much as design.
So it could be real quality, like better materials.
Yeah, superior materials, careful craftsmanship. Or it can be created through marketing, branding.
Like the Michael Jordan and Nike example he uses.
Perfect example. Associating a product with incredible performance just elevates it in your mind.
Or luxury goods, like a Ferrari. Maybe fewer parts than a normal car.
But the parts it has are exceptionally high quality, conveying huge value.
Right. And even small things, like making a remote control feel heavy.
Like those Bang& Olufsen ones. That weight communicates quality. Or sometimes you even have to advertise hidden quality, like putting a 3 CCDs sticker on a camera.
So you know the tech is there, even if you don't see it.
Exactly. So he day together, shrink, hide, embody. It's about reducing what you can, hiding the rest, but making sure what's left feels really valuable.
It's a whole strategy, not just deleting stuff.
Thoughtful and strategic reduction.
Okay, law 1. Reduce. Makes sense. Let's move to law 2. Organize.
Organize. The big idea here is that good organization makes a whole bunch of things feel like fewer things, more manageable.
This is something we all struggle with, isn't it? Just the sheer amount of stuff, physical stuff, digital stuff.
Absolutely. And Maeda points out, the industry is helping us organize storage units, closet organizers, all those apps, they're booming.
Yeah, but he offers a framework here too, SLIP.
Right, SLIP. Sort, label, integrate, and prioritize.
Okay, let's break that down. Sort is just grouping things.
Pretty much. Grouping things that seem to belong together. Books by genre, files by project, clothes by type, whatever makes sense.
And label, giving those groups names.
Clear names, yeah.
Yeah.
Or even if a name isn't obvious, using colors or numbers can work. He notes that just the act of trying to sort and label helps you understand things better.
Okay. Then integrate.
That's about combining similar groups. If you have lots of small categories, maybe merge some. Fewer groups often feels simpler.
Less overwhelming.
Right. And finally, prioritize, focusing on what's most important.
The 80-20 rule comes in here.
Exactly, the Pareto principle. Often, 20% of the items hold 80% of the value or importance. Focus there.
And SLIP isn't rigid either, right? It's adaptable.
Very adaptable. No single right way. He even mentions a tool on his website related to this for thinking about organizing information.
And it's not just for physical things. He talks about the humble tab key.
Yeah, it's such a simple thing. But think about organizing text. He gives this funny example, a jumbled list of animals, colors, drinks, gems.
Just a mess of words.
Right,
Yeah.
but hit tab strategically and boom, instant columns, instant structure. Much easier to read.
It's amazing how vital that is in word processors, and especially for code, right? Making complex code readable.
Absolutely crucial. And that leads him to a broader point. It's less about the specific tool, like which program you use.
And more about the principle of organization you're applying.
Yeah, exactly. He champions the simple grid, for example, as just a super reliable structure, visually and conceptually.
Okay, and this connects to psychology too. Gestalt.
Yes, Gestalt psychology. Our brains are wired to see patterns, to organize things automatically. We fill in blanks, continue sequences.
Like seeing shapes in clouds.
Sort of.
Yeah.
He uses the example of dots. Scattered dots look chaotic, group them, and our brain immediately sees order, shapes. We're organization animals, basically.
Makes sense. And he uses the iPod controls as an example of organization evolving.
A great example. Remember the early ones with separate buttons?
Yeah, then they move things around.
Then finally, the integrated click wheel. Each change was a change in organization, and it totally changed the experience.
Right.
He even shows these as dot diagrams complex, then simpler, than what he calls blurred simplicity with the click wheel, where things merge.
Blurred simplicity sounds appealing.
Aesthetically, often yes.
Huh.
Soft edges, integration. But he also warns that sometimes that blur can confuse new users who don't have the background.
Like his brother-in-law struggling with the click wheel.
Exactly. It shows how our own mental models affect how we perceive organization.
Okay. Reduce, organize. Law 3 is time.
Law 3, time. The core idea, savings in time feel like simplicity.
Oh, this one hits home. Waiting in lines, websites loading.
Ugh, yeah. That feeling of friction, of wasted time. Maeda argues that speed directly impacts perceived simplicity.
Like FedEx or fast food ordering, quick feels simple.
Right. When you're forced to wait, it feels unnecessarily complex. The hidden benefit of speed is the time you get back for other things.
And he applies SHE here too. Shrink, hide, embody for time.
Yep. First, shrinking time, actively cutting down how long things take.
Like planning your commute
Yeah.
or finding airport security shortcuts.
Those are personal examples he gives. But businesses do this on a huge scale with operations management. Think Toyota's production system versus older methods.
Massive time savings.
Or technologies like RFID for tracking inventory instantly. It shrinks the time needed for complex tasks.
And then there's the more radical approach, like the iPod Shuffle.
Exactly. No screen. Took away the whole process of choosing songs.
Just hit play or shuffle, saved interaction time.
Drastically. He even muses about a future where tech anticipates our needs perfectly, making choices for us. Like Google's, "I'm feeling lucky, but much smarter."
Or like Amazon recommendations today, kind of.
That's a good present-day example, yeah.
Yeah.
It shrinks decision time.
Okay, so that's shrinking time. What about hiding and embodying time?
Hiding time involves removing the reminders of time passing, like casinos with no clocks, no windows.
Creates that weird, timeless feeling.
Right. But, as he notes, a frozen clock is unsettling. We actually prefer to see time progressing smoothly.
Which leads to embodying time, making waiting better.
Exactly. Think about progress bars. Psychologically, they make waiting less awful, even if the process isn't faster.
Yeah, a smooth bar feels better than a jerky one.
Totally. Feels faster, more reliable,
Yeah.
or countdown timers at crosswalks.
Or the automated voice saying, your estimated wait time is.
Right. They embody the remaining time, manage expectations, make the wait more tolerable.
And then there's styling, making things look fast.
Yeah. Styling to convey speed. He mentions Raymond Loewy putting aerodynamic touches on things.
Like fins on old cars.
Exactly. Or those really swoopy gaming computers, like Alienware. It's visual shorthand for speed, even if it's just looks.
Another kind of helpful deception.
A desirable deception, maybe? But then he brings us back to reality, waiting for presentation to load. Airport delays.
That awful feeling when the progress bar just stops.
Pure anxiety. And he makes the point that speed usually costs something. Faster shipping costs more.
All right. Direct flights versus connecting.
The web stuff is often an exception, right? Google News, live streams, they set this expectation of now.
Instant gratification.
But he also notes you can make waiting better qualitatively, like Whole Foods giving out samples in line.
Makes the wait less annoying, even if it's the same length.
It's a trade-off. Pure speed versus a better waiting experience.
So Law 3 is about minimizing time, hiding it, or making it more bearable.
Pretty much. Shrink time constraints, hide or embody the dimension of time.
Okay, wow. These first three laws, reduce, organize, time, they really lay some solid groundwork, don't they?
They really do. A foundation for Maeda's whole approach. I bet you can already see connections everywhere.
Oh, absolutely. In my work, just daily life. And we've only covered the first three.
Exactly. There's more to explore, digging into the other laws, which get into even more nuanced areas. We'll definitely tackle those later.
Great. So just quickly recap for everyone listening.
Yeah, so we hit reduce simplicity through thoughtful removal, using shrink, hide, and embody value.
Right. Then organize, making many things seem like fewer through sort, label, integrate, prioritize, tapping into how our brains naturally see patterns.
And law 3, time. Simplicity through the feeling of saving time, whether by actually shrinking it, hiding its passage, or just making waits more tolerable.
And for you, our listener, the learner, these ideas are like practical frameworks, right? Ways to cut through complexity.
Hopefully giving you those aha moments without adding more information overload.
Exactly. So maybe a final thought to chew on.
Yeah, how about this? As you go about your day, look at the information, the tech, the routines in your life.
Yeah.
Where could you apply this idea Maeda brings up? Subtracting the obvious and adding the meaningful.
Ooh, I like that. Subtract the obvious, add the meaningful.
Yeah, not just to simplify things, but maybe to create something genuinely more valuable in the process. Something to think about.